Well, it's certainly been another week for Xbox, and it's filled with a lot of good news, bad news, and kind of everything in between. From the reveal of a brand new Halo game, president of Xbox stating that Xbox Next Gen is going to be a premium experience, alongside many huge game updates, is a pretty middling week for sure. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Xbox Nation. My name is Fletcher, and this is another episode of what I'm calling The Dashboard, where I cover the latest Xbox news and updates that have occurred over the last week. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button for Xbox content every single day, and let's dive right into the news. Well, it's official, a Halo Combat Evolved remake is coming in 2026. As part of this week's Halo World Championship event, the newly branded Halo Studios has announced its first project, titled Halo Campaign Evolved. Of course though, this one is actually being described as a faithful yet modernized remake of the Halo Combat Evolved's campaign, featuring stuff like high definition visuals, updated cinematics, and refined controls. What's more though is that this updated version of the original Halo will actually feature some brand new content, and that's in the form of 3 brand new prequel missions featuring both Master Chief and Sergeant Johnson. Overall, I do think it actually looks pretty good. However, I do have my sort of rough edges, especially when it comes to UE5. There were quite a few bits of texture popping and frame rate issues within the gameplay, and that does actually worry me slightly. Even so though, as evidenced by the official title, this new Halo remake is purely single player, meaning there's no multiplayer, which is a massive bummer, especially if you're a fan of the series. We don't have an official launch date either, just the title yet. Other than that, it's coming to Xbox alongside PC and also PlayStation 5 sometime next year. Obviously though, the other big talking point was regarding the announcement that it is coming to PlayStation for the first time, which has certainly split a very large portion of the Xbox fanbase online. For me personally, I kind of think that Xbox have kind of thrown in the towel now, and it's a major shift away from what I knew about the brand back in the early 2000s. It's a very big IP that made Xbox, and it's just a bit sad really. I like that people obviously get to play more games, and that's never a bad thing, but as someone who bought an Xbox originally for Halo, Gears and more, it kind of feels like a slap in the face for all of us fans. I don't know what the future holds for Xbox right now, and it does seem like a former shell of itself. I never want to get too negative in these videos, and I don't think it's the worst thing to happen, as it does open up a few more doors. However, I do feel that we need some sort of idea as to why Xbox is doing this, and how all of us Xbox fans actually benefit within being part of that Xbox ecosystem. What do you think about Halo coming to PlayStation now? Are you bothered about it at all, or do you not really care? Do let me know in the comments below. Whilst on the subject of some brand new games though, we've actually had 3 brand new racing games that are coming out this November, and they're actually all worth keeping on your radar. That's without mentioning Recreation as well, which is coming out towards the end of November, and don't overlook that one, as I will have a review out this Monday. So, looking at the lineup, the first one that grabs my interest is known as Rennsport, and it's essentially a simulation-focused racer that's been out on Steam since late December in its early access phase. It's coming to Xbox though finally on the 13th of November, and although it's got a few mixed reviews over on PC so far, it's just for its early access. We're now getting the full release on our Xbox consoles, and hopefully it brings with it more content, which was the main part of all the complaints. On the 21st of November, we're also getting JDM Japanese Drift Master, which has literally just been announced this week for Xbox. This one's actually been out on Steam since May, and it has a lot of positive reviews so far, and it seems like a very good mix of arcade and simulation, featuring an open world, and even a story that's told through manga pages. It looks pretty interesting, and again, I will have my review up pretty shortly. Then finally, on the 25th of November brings us Project Motor Racing, which is another sort of Forza Motorsport-like game that's being developed by various people who used to work on the likes of GTR and Project Cars. There also does seem to be a bit of hype around this one as a result, so I am curious to see how well it fares when it lands late November. It is quite safe to say that Battlefield 6 is finally back, and Battlefield 6 has quite easily garnered the most popularity that I've kind of ever seen within this franchise, and it's great especially as a fan of it. With that though, I know many of you are actually quite frothing at the mouths for some new content within the multiplayer, just like me, and we've got some new details about Season 1 which does land I believe in this coming week. The first Season 1 update, which is known as Rogue Ops, brings the Blackwell Fields map to Battlefield 6, and that's alongside a brand new mode named Strike Point, alongside some new weapons and some new other cosmetic extras. This will be available on the 28th of October, I believe, as part of Wave 1, which of course is free to every single player. It is also worth noting that we could also see the shadow drop of the sort of Battle Royale mode that they're teasing on the very same day. Then Season 1's second update, known as Californian Resistance, also adds a brand new map named Eastwood, alongside a new mode named Sabotage, along with more fresh weapons and a few other cosmetic extras as well. This update is set to arrive on the 18th of November, bringing with it the second half of this season. Division. Again, it's great to see so much content already being added in this first season of Battlefield, and I truly hope this is the start of a great live service for this franchise, and we've never actually truly experienced a successful one before. Unfortunately though, with all of the good news does come some bad news, and this week we've seen a fair bit of troubled news coming out of Xbox yet again. It does feel like a tradition to get bad news every single week at this point, so it kind of really doesn't surprise me anymore. Bloomberg's ever-reliable gaming journalist though, named as Jason Schreier, put out an extensive report on Xbox and how Microsoft is now asking the division to deliver some higher profit margins. The report does state though that Microsoft XX have basically set an across-the-board goal of 30% accountability margins, a term which Microsoft uses internally, according to quite a few people who are familiar with the business. Bloomberg also states that according to estimates from S&P Global Market Intelligence, the average profit margin in the gaming industry does actually range between 17 and 22%. So of course Xbox's profit margin is just wildly and so wildly out of place. The report goes on though to mention that its sources say that in the past, developers at Xbox weren't actually asked to hit specific numerical targets, and that this profit margin goal was actually introduced in the fall of 2023 by none other than the devil herself, known as the Microsoft Chief Financial Officer, Amy Hood. This timing though would fall right in line with when the company acquired Activision Blizzard, as that deal finally went through I believe towards the end of 2023. In other words, someone who's basically got no understanding of the gaming market has set unreasonable and potentially unobtainable targets, and that has basically manifested every single change we've seen at Xbox to this day. As someone who used to do sales as a job, to me it's no wonder we've seen so many massive U-turns and really unpopular decisions. So as an example, if Gears of War E-Day does not hit that sort of 30% margin, will that be the last game within the franchise ever to be made? This target has already massively affected Xbox as we've seen so far this year, so who knows what more damage will be done before Microsoft realises that gaming is a very different beast entirely from its other divisions. Of course though, it's all sort of a wait and see sort of scenario, but it kind of backs up as to why Xbox changed their strategy to the sort of this is an Xbox campaign and then raising prices in basically every single area. Of course it is disappointing to hear and see, and to be honest it kind of makes me wish that Xbox just don't give up. If you remember back in the summer, Xbox developer Turn 10 suffered some massive layoffs as part of the huge restructuring, and that led to the team actually promptly halting major updates for Forza Motorsport. Since then though, the studio has been confirmed as a support developer on the upcoming Forza Horizon 6, but in a brand new interview with Famitsu, Xbox boss Phil Spencer insists that the FMIP isn't actually dead. When he was asked about the future of Halo and also Forza Motorsport, Phil confirmed that both of these IPs are still in Xbox's plans. What I'll do though is chuck up Phil's full comment on Forza via rough online translation from Japanese. Regarding Forza Motorsport, we sometimes need to shift our focus to games that are released sooner. We understand the reaction many people had when we scaled back Turn 10 Studios. We have a large number of games we want to support carefully, and sometimes we will give development teams a little more time to avoid putting them under some strain. Our current structure though allows us this flexibility. It does sound as though that Turn 10 is all hands on deck with Forza Horizon 6 for now. They're obviously supporting main developer Playground Games with its 2026 racer, which is quite good to see to be honest. This does make sense given that Forza Horizon series is probably Xbox's most successful properties these days, but it does beg the question as to how they will go about making a brand new Forza Motorsport game in the near future. Do Playground Games come on to assist, or did they just hire some brand new staff again? It is just a whirlwind, but I'm kind of glad that Forza Motorsport is at least part of the Xbox plans into the future. As we are entering the tail end of October though, we did get the second wave of Xbox Game Pass games this week, and to be honest it was quite a decent drop overall for all of our subscribers. For me, the real standout of course was The Outer Worlds 2, and I do highly recommend that you check it out. The other notable additions though have to be Halls of Torment, which is absolutely excellent, and the really anticipated console and PC release of Football Manager 26. I do expect we may get even more new games this November, but if you do want to check out the games that landed on the Xbox Game Pass with this brand new announcement, then do make sure to check out the link with the video in the comments below. One game that did drop out of nowhere though onto Xbox and also day one into Xbox Game Pass this week was Pacific Drive, and if you somehow missed this news, I highly recommend you try this game as soon as possible. This one is essentially a roguelike, but has you travelling across the Olympic exclusion zone in your trusty vehicle, as that's actually your only lifeline in your survival. This one is not an outright horror game, so don't expect many jump scares, and that does actually make me really happy. I kind of liken it to Control in terms of how scary it gets. It's not going to make you jump, it just sort of gives you that eerie atmosphere which is rather unsettling. For me personally, this was an absolutely fantastic shadow drop. I saw the reviews over on PC a couple of years ago now, and I was always intrigued by it. I've played it for about an hour, and it does seem very immersive so far, and I may have to give you some of my thoughts in an offhand review in the near future. Are you keen on the new Halo announcement, or are you a sort of bit mixed when it comes to Xbox at the moment and may leave next generation? I'd be keen to hear your thoughts and have a discussion about it in the comments below. Remember to smash that like button if you enjoyed this sort of video, and do subscribe for more news videos like this every single week and more Xbox content just every single day. Whilst here though, why don't you check out my other Xbox video on screen now, as I recently covered the top 15 new games coming to us this November.